AJ, just on number 3, our lack of will to feel feelings, that's directly related to our lack of love for ourselves?
Always. Yes. What drove the question, Philippa?
My lack of will.
Yeah. So if you really love yourself, you will want to get rid of from yourself any emotion that is harming your life. And in our childhoods, many of us have had many emotions that were stored through a process of events that the environment took. So for example, we started to cry, but the parent said, "I'm going to give you something to cry about now," and you get so afraid, so you stop crying. Now that crying, those tears have been shut down. Those tears will have to be experienced at some point in the future. They were there to be experienced. They're now locked down inside of you. They're like frozen emotion. And in fact, when those emotions come up, you will often feel the age of the emotion. So for example, you might start crying and it feels like you're 2 years old crying. And that's an emotion that you didn't feel when you were 2 years old, that you needed to feel. That was shut down. Now, the average parent on the planet shuts down most of their child's emotion throughout of its life, right? That's fairly normal. We often still see that as normal. And as a result of that, we learn to not feel anything. We're taught to not feel. But we need to see that it's an act of love towards ourselves to feel, to allow ourselves to feel what we actually feel. And if we're not willing to do it, then we're not willing to love ourselves. If we're not willing to love ourselves, it's going to be very hard to grow towards God, because God wants you to love yourself. God wants to love you, and God also wants you to love yourself. And if you're unwilling to love yourself, you're out of harmony with the way God sees you. Right? So it's going to be very hard to be at one with God while you're unwilling to love yourself. And part of being willing to love yourself is to remember that it's an act of love towards yourself to feel what you feel inside. That's an act of love towards yourself. That's partly what it means to love yourself. And in fact, it's a large part of what it means to love yourself.